Hi there, my name is Sunny Apollo, and I'm with my two golden retrievers, Magnum on the left and Sunny on the right. Today, I'd like to talk to you about drying your dog after a bath. So now you have bathed your dog and probably have a bathroom that is dripping with the excess water that he or she shook off as soon as you switched off the shower head. This is par for the course, but whilst you have to wait for your bathroom to dry out, you have several options when it comes to drying your dog. After you have given your dog a bath, it is essential to ensure that he or she is completely dry. This applies regardless of what type of coat your dog has, because lingering dampness can cause infections, hypothermia, and other ailments that are needless. All you need to do is add an extra 5 minutes onto the grooming session and make sure that your guard hair and undercoat are completely dry. Obviously, before you do attempt to dry your dog, you should run a brush through his or her hair to smooth out any mats and tangles that the water has left behind. This has the added advantage of removing any excess water before the drying process begins. There are 3 main methods for drying your dog. They include fluff drying, cage drying, and towel drying. Fluff drying is another term for blow drying, so you effectively use a hair dryer of some sort to dry your dog. You can use a handheld dryer that you already have in your home, or you can use one of the many specialist tools available, the floor dryer. Floor dryers are used to fluff dry dogs by professional dog grooming people and are becoming increasingly popular amongst owners as well. There are many available in pet stores and on the internet, some of which have high-speed motors to make your dog extra fluffy. Fluff drying is an effective mode of drying specific breeds, namely those that are meant to be fluffy according to the breed standard. The Poodle, Afghan Hound, Maltese, and Old English Sheepdog, to name just 4. Firstly, you have to separate the coat into sections and dry each one individually. Use a brush to straighten the coat section that the warm air is directed at. When drying it, you must use the brush to move the fur upwards in a quick but efficient way so as to ensure that all strokes are even. You have to make sure that each individual section is completely dry before moving on to the next section. You should literally repeat this process until every square inch of your dog's coat is completely dry. There is actually a technique that applies to fluff drying if you want to do it properly. If you do not do it properly, then your dog may look cute, but the final grooming job will not look professional. When you are fluff drying any dog, then you should make sure to pay attention to the sensitive areas of the body. For example, the dryer should not go anywhere near the eyes because it will dry them out. Similarly, you should take care when drying around the ears and head because it can startle your dog and thus cause a hatred of grooming that can ruin all future attempts. Make sure that all crevices are dry, especially those around the tail and the legs. Most importantly, when using this method, always make sure that the dryer is not on a hot setting because the last thing you want to do is burn your dog. It should be cool or warm, but never hot. Cage drying is not the most popular method of drying out there, but is one of those that should be because it is perfect for short or smooth-coated dogs, as well as those that do not need to have straight fur in order to conform to breed standard. Also known as kennel drying, it simply requires a good-sized cage and a cage dryer. The cage dryer is attached to the cage so that it can effectively dry your dog as he or she relaxes after the exertion of dog grooming. You should brush your dog before drying and then afterwards to remove any tangles, but that is the extent of your involvement. The cage dryer does all the work for you, so there is no fluffing and brushing during the drying process. You can purchase cages and cage dryers at all good pet stores, and most are reasonably priced. The only other piece of equipment you need is a towel on which your dog can lay down during the drying process. However, you do need to make sure that your cage allows for proper ventilation, because the dryer could otherwise overheat or suffocate your dog. That, of course, could ultimately lead to death, which is never something that should be able to happen during grooming. It must be ventilated at the top and to the sides. Small and large dogs alike can be cage dried, but large dogs can be difficult to find a cage big enough for. You may like to use a floor dryer while your dog is laying on a grooming table for larger breeds. Either way, ensure that your dog is completely dry prior to stopping the dryer, and try to avoid the eyes as far as possible. The third and final method of drying, and one of the most popular amongst owners, because all you need is a towel to get your dog dried off after a bath. This is not suitable for large breeds because it is almost impossible to ensure that your dog is fully dry. With so much hair to see to, it would take you hours to dry it all by hand. So it is best suited for small dogs that have short hair. All you have to do is get a towel and briskly run your dog's coat until it is completely dry. You may need a handheld dryer to finish off the job if some areas are still damp. However, changing to a dry towel when your towel is damp is a good idea as well, that can remove the need for a hair dryer. This is good for some dogs that are easily startled by loud noises and would not enjoy being under a dryer of any kind in any circumstances. So there's the 3 different methods of drying your dog and their advantages and disadvantages. Whatever you do, do not let your dog outside until he or she is completely dry, because this can lead to illness. Choose the most effective way of drying that's best for you and your dog.